Good afternoon and welcome to TalkSports. It is our weekend program where we speak with the movers and shakers of sports, the sportsmen, sportswomen, administrators, coaches, just about everyone involved in sports. Well, on today's program, as indicated, we coming live from Grand Forks in North Dakota this time. We shift from New York to North Dakota. But our special guest, and the first time on our program, be the coach of the Antigua and Barbuda Carifta team, the Carifta Games team. He's also an executive member of the Antigua and Barbuda Athletic Association, Mr. Ted Daley. And he will be joining us live from St. John's in Antigua. And as usual, my co-host is in Toronto, Canada, Mr. Rudian Sylvan. And as indicated, we'll be talking a bit, kind of giving continual conversation on the whole issue of the Carifta Games and particularly zooming in on our young talents, looking at probably a transition from, junior track and field to college and even into the professional or elite track and field. Let me welcome my special guest to the program, Mr. Ted Daley from Antigua. Mr. Daley, it is afternoon your time. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Daley.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to you and the audience.
Right. Good afternoon. And thank you very much for accepting the invitation and being on our program. And definitely to speak, and not just about Antigua and Barbuda, because certainly your comments most likely will reflect, the common givens of what is happening in the Eastern Caribbean as it relates to track and field. First of all, congratulations in terms of Antigua participating in the Carifta Games in Grenada, the 51st edition. I know there was some indications of whether or not Antigua will actually participate, but they came in large numbers and performed commendably. First of all, as I said, congratulations, but give me a sort of summary on Antigua's participation in the Carifta Games in Grenada.
Great. Thank you very much for your commendation. Regarding our participation, as you would have mentioned just a while ago, we had some hiccups in getting everything together so that our team would participate in the Carifta Games. But we got things organized and we were there. We took 15 athletes, and every one of those athletes performed commendably. Most of them did personal bests. Some set new national and Carifta records, as in the javelin thrower, Malik. Gialina Dowdy, she would have won a bronze medal, coming from finishing fifth last year. And we also had Tyra Fenton, who won 2 bronze medals. She's only 13 years old. She was competing in the under 17 category. She has 2 more years in that category. And so we expect very good things from her going forward. So all in all, I think we performed well, especially under the circumstances, especially when some children wasn't sure that they were going because of financial constraints, etc. But nonetheless, we were able to get there, and it's history now, but it's something that we will build on. As we speak right now, we have people out on the streets trying to raise funds, planning for next Carifta, because the talent pool that we have suggests that we can do even better than we did, and we are determined that that is going to happen. So in a nutshell, I think we are in a good place. We have good, knowledgeable coaches. We have very talented athletes. And if we can get the financing together, we will do great things.
Mm-hmm. It's just, you speaking about fundraising activities already for 2025, I assume, Mr. Daley, putting things in place. We're talking about just a week or 2 weeks after the Carifta Games, and it appears that leaving no stones unturned in terms of ensuring that Antigua and Barbuda are well represented come 2025 in Trinidad and Tobago.
That is definitely the plan. Trinidad, I believe, is going to be special, and we want to be ready. We are no longer going to take things, leave things to chance. We're going to do everything that we can. I did promise that 1 week after Carifta, we would start, and we did start our special program in terms of um, a feeding program for, we can't do it for every athlete, but we have already started with some athletes. We are determined that we will make a better showing for 2025.
Well, it appears that that is, although for some people they might probably be questioning why it is that you have to engage in fundraising activities, because normally, whether or not the state will come in and or your sponsors, but it appears that even if that is the case, you want to ensure that funds are available, and whether or not it's up to the public to provide the support. But it appears that you're using the opportunity in terms of the iron is still hot, so therefore it's probably the best time to raise funds.
That's right. That's exactly what we're doing. That is
Yeah.
exactly what we're doing. I believe that our athletes, when they go out there to represent us, they're not just representing the association or themselves or their school or family and friends. They're representing the state of Antigua and Barbuda. So we want everybody to get involved. Let the athletes know that, we are behind you. We want you to be of your best, and we're going to do whatever we have to do to make sure to give you the best opportunity to be the best that you can be on that day. Come Carifta 25, we want to make sure that you are ready, and we are doing everything possible to make that a reality.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, it's before I bring in my co-host there from Toronto, it's not just fundraising, but I think there was something where you also intimated that actually putting athletes in training as well for in preparation for 2025.
Yes, there are a few other junior um, meets that's going to come up later down in the year, and so we continue our preparation towards those. But what we have added um, an additional component where we have more contact time with the athletes now. Well, we started this week. Uh, in addition to that, from the nutritional side of it, the recovery side of it, all those are other aspects that needs to be in place, and we have started to do just that. So the athletes can come, they can train hard, um, they will they will have access to to proper nutrition, and they will have access to proper recovery, proper um, prehab and rehab if necessary.
All right, let me welcome co-host Rudy and Sylvan in Toronto. Rudy and our guest, Mr. Ted Daley, and certainly you would have been listening to him intently in regarding the preparations that Antigua and Barbuda making already. And we're talking about just 2 weeks after the 2024 Carifta Games in Grenada.
Most definitely. It's a pleasure to see you, Michael. Ted, it's a pleasure to have you with us today. No, most definitely. The first thing I always said over the past few years, and me and Michael talk about it, is countries going back to the drawing board and saying, "Hey, what can we do for the next year? Don't wait, months before. Go right away. See your plans and see what changes we can make." And I see that you on the ball. I was so proud of your one of your athletes in particular. The young lady that came third. Don't get her name off my head right away, but I was proud of her from the way she was last year and getting on the podium. It seemed like she really wanted it. She really pushed for it. She really worked for it, and I was so proud of her. I don't know her, but just listening to the commentators and what they're saying, I was really happy to see that she could actually walk through it and get on the podium, and that shows determination. It shows hard work. I listened to a
Yes,
young man. I listened to a young man from the elementary school meet in Grenada this year, and he said, "Last year I get beat up." I said, "Oh, that's what he said." He said, "Last year I get beat up, so I go back and I work hard that I wouldn't get beat up again." And it seemed like that's what it was with her. I get beat up last year, and I'm coming back and I'm going to get on the podium, and that was really something really good to see. And I'm so proud to hear you as a coach and what you guys' plans are. And I really wish that other countries can do the same. I really hope so, and they can take a piece of your page right now and start prepping. That what the youths have for track and field in the Caribbean is the character games. I would have loved to see more things for them, but what they have right now is the character games. And you have to take it serious, and they have to take it serious too. And if that's all we have, then let us let's be pride onto it. So they at that age they wouldn't go to the Olympics, they wouldn't go to the World Championship, and what they can do to make the country proud is definitely the character games. And you had a 13-year-old in there. What else can you ask for? The future is bright, and once other 13-year-olds and 14-year-olds see that, then they're going to want to get on board and say, I want to be on there as well. So definitely you guys are doing an awesome job. Just continue it. It's Michael definitely said it. We're hoping that the state was the one who would have been taking care of the financial part for you guys to go. But you're not waiting. You're not waiting for them. You guys are doing what you have to do now, and in every way, in every support that you can get for the athletes to make it to Trinidad, because I really believe, just as you said it, I believe Trinidad is going to be something special next year. Grenada was special, but I think Trinidad is going to be a notch over for next year, because I think Trinidad itself want to win, and I think other countries going to want to come in and definitely say, hey, we can do it now. We have to look at it in the events. Areas that is weak, areas that countries are weak in, areas that they can strengthen in. You had 15 athletes. When you look at the character game, how many more athletes you think you can develop and put in places? So you go back on the drawing board and you look at that, right? So definitely, like I said, I see you have a plan coming, and I wish other countries can take it on. I have a very important question to ask you later on, but we're going to continue. I'll get back to you in a second.
Mhm.
Thank you very much for your sentiments. I appreciate everything that you said. And yes,
Yeah,
that is
but
the plan, and we're definitely going to be pursuing that plan.
right, as a coach yourself and as a member of the Antigua and Barbuda Athletic Association, how important you see that synergy between the association itself and the government? Because you said that there were some hiccups in terms of the preparation of the team, getting the team to Grenada, but then things worked out and things like that. So, and obviously, there are plans now going forward for 2025 to ensure that whatever it is that took place prior to, that would have caused us some sort of uneasiness, probably with the athletes, their parents, etc., in terms of focusing for the character game. How important you see that synergy between government and the Athletics Association?
It is extremely important. And so I believe if we go out there as an association, we start the process as we have started, that it will trigger government to respond in a more timely manner. And so the hiccups that we had this year will definitely not be there next year. This is our hope, and we're doing what we can do at this point. We are trying to engage corporate Antigua as well. We are leaving, as you said earlier, no stone unturned to make sure that we have everything organized going forward for next year. In fact, one of the things that we're also doing, I spoke to a lady who wants to be part of what we're doing. I'm not going to call her name because I didn't discuss this with her. But what we're doing is we're going to try and create a support group. People who can, we're going to be working with a travel agent so that you can go and you can pay monthly, starting now, going on to the end, going on to, let's say, a month before Carifta, so that you can be part of the support team. You will have this great experience. You will see what Carifta is like. You will be there to support our athletes. The package will include T-shirts, flags, tickets to enter the ground transportation, accommodation, and meals. That will be your package. So that we are expecting to have maybe at least 50 persons or so in Trinidad sitting together, because we're going to buy the tickets early and everything, to support our athletes. So when they're down there, when they're coming into the arena to compete, when they look up in the stands, they will see that they have a support team, just as the Jamaicans, just as the Bahamians, and just as Trinidad will definitely have. So, all of these are things that we're working on. That's why we have to start working on it now, because we want to make sure we're successful with what we're doing.
Well, you're speaking there, and obviously we were shaking our heads because, and for someone who have been going to the Carifta Games, and you mentioned the Jamaicans and the Bahamians and others, particularly, and Trinidad even had a big contingent support group in Grenada. So obviously, if they're home, is home advantage, and I think you understand the importance of that support group. So that is why, I mean, planning so early, especially from Antigua coming all the way from the north, when in terms of proximity to Trinidad and Tobago, the early preparation that is so important, and it's good to see that Antigua is doing it. Hopefully, we can see Grenada and Saint Lucia and the others do the same. Yes, we do not have the resources as the Jamaica. Well, I say the resources in terms of that sort of support, because the Jamaican support comes from the junior track and field in particular, boys and girls champs, right? And they have that sort of following. So obviously, whether is in Jamaica, whether it's at Carifta Games, whether it's pen relays, you'll see the Jamaican supporting their athletes. Bahamas, like wise, do the same because they have their charter, their charter flight. So they early will start selling. In fact, they probably inquiring about accommodation already in Trinidad, even before they have a plane ticket, these sort of things. So it's nice to see uh, islands like Antigua and, whether it's St. Kitts and Grenada and St. Lucia, and probably, that sort of um, early preparation by Antigua may probably spur others to do likewise, and it's good to see that is something that is more or less what we'll call, Ruben, the forward thinking. And it's something we have been talking about in programs where you come, you compete, and then you go back, and then it's probably until January of next year, you start the process again. And by then you'll know that you have so many challenges ahead, but as Mr. Daley says, it appears that well in advance, in terms of their preparation.
No, certainly,
Yeah,
and that's the thing that we talk about is getting ready. The preparation is key, right? So definitely seeing you guys doing this, like I said, I hope other countries can tap into this evening and hearing what you guys are planning for next year, because that's the key thing. And not only that, too, I also got to understand what is happening in Trinidad next year at the same time. There's other events happening, so accommodation is going to be very hard. It's very, very difficult. If you don't plan now, you might get to fly to Trinidad, but you may not have a place to stay. So it's very important because, like I said, there is other things happening the exact same weekend in the exact same area. So that's something that's very important to guys plan early. You put the preparation in place, and I'm pretty sure the Trinidad team and organization will have accommodation and tickets, everything out very early, due to what's been happening in that time at the time.
Um, and as a coach, Mr. Daley, let's look a little more on the technical side of things. How challenging it was for you to get your athletes ready for the Carifta Games, identifying your talent and getting them ready for the Carifta Games this year?
well, it was quite challenging because because of the lack of contact time. Um, some of the athletes as well, they come from less fortunate families, and the work that is required at times, you can't even give them that work to do because the nutrition to support that is not in place. That is why, again, we started early. We have a feeding program that we're doing now to make sure that the athletes get the required nutrition so that they can work hard. Um, More so than anything else, the conditioning work, the background work, is not very difficult because that is that depends mostly on the determination of the athlete. But the technical side of it, when you're looking at the acceleration and the angles that you want to use and the smooth transition and the front side mechanics and so on and so forth. That takes a lot of time. If you don't have the adequate amount of contact time, you know, it puts you in a disadvantageous kind of position. So again, with this new program that we're doing, we are having some morning training as well, and have we usually have 6 training sessions with the athletes. We have moved it to 9. So basically, we have a 50% more contact time, and that would put us in a better position to fix some of those flaws that we see in terms of the mechanics, the biomechanics of running, because that is the most difficult area for coaches to address. So we're happy that some of the parents and some of the schools have bought into what we're saying and have made the necessary adjustments so that these athletes can be available for training, with this additional time that is required.
Mhm. And for your athletes who are based overseas, and particularly in something I want you to develop on a little later on, those athletes who are based in Jamaica, studying and training in Jamaica as well. Is it you have a system of monitoring their performances to know whether or not you can gauge and have them on your team, or they can basically, because they're in Jamaica, they can walk in on the team?
No, time to time, we make sure we have our standards that we set, our curricular qualifying standards. And yes, irrespective of where you train, you would have to meet those standards, or you would have at least to be close enough to those standards so that the selection panel can consider you. We had 3 athletes from Jamaica that lives or goes to school and train in Jamaica. That was on our curricular team this year. And you had the pros and cons. You had your pluses and minuses. For example, we had one young lady who participated in the 1500 and the 800 meters. She showed much improvement compared to when she was in Antigua. But we had the next one who won a gold medal last year in the under 17 long jump, and she was invited to come to Jamaica and train. She went, and this year she made it to the finals, but she didn't make it to the podium. She jumped considerably below her best. But things happen. Sometimes you go into a new system and you don't adjust to the system immediately. Sometimes it takes you an additional 2 years before you adjust to the system, and sometimes you get better, sometimes you don't. But who knows? We don't have a crystal ball to look into, and parents, coaches, and so on sometimes get together and determine whether or not the athlete should go in a particular direction. In some cases, the coaches get overruled by the parent because the parent thinks that, listen, I want the best for my child, and this to me is the best situation. Sometimes it works out well, sometimes it doesn't. I for one, I have no problems with athletes going to Jamaica to train, but I just want to say, let's weigh all the consideration first, because in Antigua, we have very knowledgeable coaches. We have level 5 coaches that went to the IAAF system. We have coaches that went to the US track and field development system. We have coaches that went to, like myself, went to the European track and field development system. Right? But there are other hindrances, as I would mention before: contact time, nutrition, the rehab, and so on. We need to do more to get these things on par, and then we will see the real results, because the athletes are there and they possess the talent that is necessary to get them to where they want to get to.
And while we're on that, I want to single out the performance of one particular athlete. That's the javelin thrower, Malik. I think it's Malik Francis. Yeah, yes. Malik Francis. 68.84 meters. What he is in the under
17.
Under 17, and his rank, 4th or 5th in the world in terms of his age group.
Yeah, he's
Speak of
tied for fifth in the world in his age group.
in his age group, you know,
Yes.
um, speak a bit about Malik, because I don't think prior to um, this year we have heard much about javelin throwers coming out of Antigua and Barbuda. More so when it comes to the Caribbean Games, you know, Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, you know, the French Doms, and Jamaica to an extent. But here is Malik, who is in the under 17, and you know, and is world class in terms of his age group. You know, almost 70 meters.
Yes. Well, last year, Malik, he competed last year in the same under 17 as a young, to be in under 17 for 2 years. You understand that he would have been 14 last year, and he came second. He won a silver medal, but quietly so, because again, as you said, Antigua, at one time, we were known for our middle distance runners when we had people like Janelle Williams and Stacy Kwashi and so on.
Yeah.
We used to put our under 17 athletes to run under 20 so we can cover both. We had so many under 17 middle distance runners. We were able to put some of the under 17s step up to run under 20 and still one both under 17 and under 20, right? And then we lost our focus a little bit. You know, some politics came into the sport and what have you. We lost our way a little bit. And then we researched, but when we researched with sprinters. We had Daniel Bailey, who would have gone to Carifta and won the 100 and the 200 twice, right, in a row. Um, so we have shown signs in the past, but we are determined now. We are not just going to be showing signs in one area or another. So we started paying a lot of attention to the field events. And Malik was discovered. Malik, believe it or not, he threw with a sore arm in Grenada and did what he did. He still feels that if he didn't have that sore arm, and we feel so as well, he could have probably done the world record, which is just over 70 meters, because he was just a meter and a half off from it. But he is a special person. Um, he works hard. He understands what it is that he's doing, and he wants it. His parents are behind him as well, so we have a lot of contact time with him, unlike some other athletes, right? And you see the results of that. So we are pointing to things like these to suggest to parents and so on that we need to have more contact time with the athletes. Stop punishing them and telling them they can't go to track because they didn't complete their homework. Instead, teach them time management so they can do both. Because we don't know where these athletes are going to go. Malik right now is ranked fifth in the world in under 20 athletes. Ahead of him, I think two Russians, a South African that's ranking number one, and somebody from Bulgaria. And then he's tied with an ex-German for fifth, right? And so he is very excited. He wants to come back and work even harder because he knows next year he's going into the under 20 category, and he don't want to have a transition where, listen, I have to sit out a year. It is. He wants to go back and medal in the under 20 category and continue to build, right? So we are just encouraging him. Like I said, his parents are behind him, and we believe that Malik will do it. He is, as I said, a special case. The coach from Grenada who coaches Peters, the world champion, the world champion from Doha, who believes in him. He says he's what he's seen with his coach's eye is a special case, and he thinks that Malik can go on to do great things, and he wants to assist if wherever he can. And that is the next thing that we're doing as well. We're trying to collaborate with other islands so that each of us can learn from and teach each other. So that in our area, in the within the OECS, we can grow together and start to rival in the Jamaicans and the Bahamians, Trinidadians, etc.
Um, you speak with a plan, you know. And just for clarity, folks, when he mentioned Janelle Williams, for folks who may find the name sounding strange. Well, Janelle Williams was one who dominated the long distance running, middle and long distance, I should say. For character and for many years. In fact, she probably was one of those athletes that dominated character for every year she participated at the Carifta Games. She also won a silver medal, I remember, in the CAC championships. I think it was in Barbados when she won that silver.
Yes.
Yeah, the CAC in Barbados back in 80 something, I think it was, right? But Janelle is one of those who, I mean, the name was synonymous in terms of middle distance running, representing Antigua back then at the Carifta Games. Okay. Just before you come in, Rudy, and Roger Duncan is saying, good afternoon, Roger. He said, Ted is selling athletics and doing so effectively, convincingly. It's what I advocate for here in Grenada, and Roger is in Grenada. Within 10 minutes, I understood the needs of Antigua athletics. How hard was that? So I guess as much you were able to sell athletics, sell what's the challenges, whatever it is from Antigua and Barbuda, as he says, within 10 minutes, and I guess you come across with a lot of clarity and, and examples and things like that. So, Rudian?
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely. I'm going to stick on, continue on what you're talking about with my question. So it's a deep question. Where do you see the character games with the young people moving forward to? And you mentioned talking about the parents making decisions. When I look at Jamaica, um, most of the character athletes, most of the world class athletes is not character champions. Um, and there is a disconnect in the Caribbean with the young youths, especially on the field events. We don't see a dominating on the field events as much as we see on the track. And we haven't seen much young athletes dominate in the field events like long jump, high jump, triple jump, in most categories coming out of character at that young age. And then you have a transition with them going out to college or staying home to go to school. And if they go to college, then you don't really hear about them again. So where do you see the disconnect is in that level, or do you see the future is bright?
Okay, I think that the future is bright. There needs to be a little bit of synergy between, for example, some of the colleges, and maybe we should approach it from a regional standpoint as opposed to country to country to colleges. Maybe from a regional standpoint, we should approach it from that, because yes, sometimes you get into the college system and the college, they give you a scholarship and they want what they want, and you end up participating in too many events, and you don't focus as well as the event that you would specialize in, and so the growth in those specific events don't take place because of the fact that the colleges want you to do so many things. It's not about whether or not you win, it's about whether or not they accumulate enough points so that the school can be, whether it be regional champs or national champs or what have you. So we have to guard against this as well as a region. Outside of that, the athletes who stay home, sometimes they're at a disadvantage because they don't get the quality competition that they need. They compete at home, yes, but they compete just against athletes that they're accustomed to compete against, athletes who they are better than, and the competition that's going to take them to the next level is not there. So believe it or not, I have had some discussions with, and this is my marketing background, right? Because that is what I am. In my day job, I am a sales and marketing manager. So I feel that as a region, we need to collaborate more closely. Let's start with either the Leeward Islands or the OECS countries, so that when we have in our development meets, when we start our season, maybe we can invite each other to be part of that process, to give this external competition, etc. And it will help all of us. Maybe we can do um, roundtable, Zoom meetings, or whatever, where we learn from and teach each other. Some of us have problems that we encounter for years and we manage to get it solved. There's no need for somebody else to go through years of that to get the problem solved. Maybe you have the answer for me, or I have the answer for you. So let's collaborate. Let's start a OECS circuit so that we can have every 2 weeks or something leading up to major championships like World Championships or the Olympics. For those of us who cannot get to go to Europe, where the action is at the last 2 months before these major championships, let's not leave our athletes in a disadvantageous position. Let us start a circuit within the OECS. So every 2 weeks we have major competition in one or the other islands. You know, those are some of the things that I would love to see. It will remove some of the disadvantage that we have right now. It would put us in a better position to market our sport, a better position to attract sponsors to our sport, and overall for the athletes, it will do them a world of good. So, from that time, that's how I see that, at least.
Well,
Definitely. I was
I'm
about
glad
to
you
ask,
mentioned that because the some time ago we had there was a discussion regarding we already have what we call the Windward Islands secondary school games as an example, and there was a suggestion that that can be expanded to the an OECS secondary school games. I'm just using that as an example. The Windward Island secondary school games held every year that includes at least I think it's about 5 sports in its disciplines. Track and field, one of them. Basketball, football, netball, volleyball, blah blah blah. And I think they're looking at adding some more sporting disciplines. But that is only in the Windward Islands, among the 4 Windward Islands. So there was a suggestion that that can be expanded to the Leeward Islands, or let the Leeward Islands have their own version, and or you have what you call an OECS, secondary school games. That was just a suggestion that was thrown out. But building on your comments, I think it's a bit broader in terms of having that circuit where we have facilities in Grenada, we have in St. Vincent, Dominica. Well, St. Lucia uses this, I think for a stadium, etc., etc. So it's not a stadium, for a hospital or whatever. I think they might be getting use of it soon and things like that. So, but we have facilities in those islands, and it can be used, for the intended purposes. Right now in Grenada, I know there's a big discussion in terms of the use of the track and field stadium, the Kirani James Athletic Stadium. Right after the Curfew Games, the weekend after the Curfew Games was a big cultural event. And there was a big debate as to, after spending millions of dollars in, repairing and getting it tip top for the Curfew Games, right after that, gone back to the cultural events, etc., etc. But that has its political side to it as well. But I think getting back to your main suggestion about more competition for our athletes in the sub-region, I think it's something that is really commendable, and coming from someone as a coach and someone as an executive member of the Antigua and Barbuda Athletic Association, I'm certain that that has some merit. Joanna Paul is saying, Mr. Ted, I recommend you start the initiative, seeing that this is one of your passions for the holistic development of athletics. Usually the people who are supposed to create the change don't do it. Lovely idea. So you probably may have to start something, in Antigua and get the people to buy into it, because other than that, just throwing it out there, Mr. Daley, as what they're saying, it's a lot of talk, and people will just say, Wumpty Daily, Wumpty here and this, and that. You probably have to start it, and they probably will buy into it. And as a professional salesman, marketing, I think that's up your alley,
Well, it's definitely part of the plan. We are definitely going to do that. Like I said, we have had discussions with my friends in BVI and some of my friends in St. Kitts already, and we will expand it. we will get this. We will get this done.
No, most definitely, and excluding Jamaica, that's what's really missing is competition for these young athletes, and it's something that is really lacking for them. Like I said, all they have is the Caribbean Games. That's it. There's really not much for them as to be such as a major competition for them, right? So it will be really good to see other let the Caribbean have their own Caribbean Junior Championship or the Caribbean Youth Championship. Like, yes, it takes sponsor, but I think that's things that should be on the table. The level of athletes on the junior level that's coming from the Caribbean, it's such on a high that it could be even better than the actual World Juniors. The type of talent that I think we have in the Caribbean could definitely be better than the World Juniors. Now, a lot of the athletes don't get an opportunity to go. And it could come back to funding, budget. A lot of athletes in your country that could probably medal or be in the finals in the World Championship on the junior level wouldn't be able to go because of the budgeting, because of the funding. Like right there alone, we say that in the Caribbean, we should have that. Yes, it come back to funding, but that's things that they should really really look into, really consider, and really put it together. And if it's not every year, maybe every 2 years, but just in the Caribbean itself, within the Caribbean, you have Caribbean juniors, you have the Caribbean youths, including with the Caribbean Games, there is competition. The youths have something to look forward to because all they have is the Caribbean Games, and after that, that's that, right? So definitely, like I said, the things you're talking about, these things we hear often. The competition. Recently, last week, so as much as last week, we was talking same thing. What's lacking for us as Grenadian competition? What's lacking for you in competition? What's lacking for St. Vincent? For and all them only, like I said, Jamaica have series every weekend. They have meets every weekend, and if we can get to that level, then I think, and the numbers are bigger, yes, but definitely if we can get into somewhere the kids can get competition, I think it'll be better. And the future for track and field athletes in the Caribbean, excluding Jamaica because they're the big country, could be bright. Should have everybody, every country or every island in the Caribbean should have somebody representing them at the Olympic Games or at the World Championship. But that comes with if they have the proper funding, everything in place. I think that can happen.
Mr. Daley, I was looking through the results of the Caribbean Games and particularly the athletes of Antigua and Barbuda. And I noticed that even some of the athletes who didn't, get onto the podium, they recorded personal best, times and distances, etc. In going forward, how you hoping, and I know you already have a program in place and you mentioned about, getting these athletes into, almost like an academy, something like an academy in preparation for 2025. How are you hoping to keep those athletes and maintain their focus in terms of preparation for 2025, especially those who are available for participation in 2025?
Okay, so there has been like a debriefing, and those athletes would have been spoken to. They themselves have the greatest motivation right now because they know that they were this close, and they can't wait. There's some of them you had to, like, people wanted to start training last week, Wednesday. We had to say, it's okay, take a day off, take a couple of days. We'll get back into training from next week, right? So they are motivated at present. We are the ones who have to put things in place to keep them motivated. So they will continue making the effort that they're making or they have made and even improve on that, right? I wanted also to touch on something that you had mentioned about athletes. What do they do after Carifta? And that to me is a pet peeve. That is very bothersome to me because you have what we refer to as the late developers. And so it was pointed out earlier in this program that there are athletes who became world beaters who never medaled at Carifta. Some of them didn't even make their national teams to Carifta because they're among the late developers. But because of how things are structured at present, only athletes from, let's say, a country like Jamaica or so have an opportunity to continue to work towards perfecting their craft to get to the next level. Most of the time, athletes within the OECS, the Leeward Islands, etc., would after Carifta and they don't make it on the medals, they don't get scholarship to universities or anything like that, they drop out. And some of them are super talent. They are just late developers, and that was never given the opportunity to go on to get to the next level. Something have to be done about things like that, right? And within the discussion that we have been having, the answers have come to the surface. For example, things like the OECS circuit, things like a Leeward Islands Junior Championship, things like maybe a OECS under 23 championship, something along those lines that give these athletes a reason to stay in training, to, so that they can cross over, they can get to the next level, because everybody don't develop at the same rate. And sometimes the late developers are the ones who get to even higher levels than the earlier developers, right? And we have to understand that Carifta, not winning a medal at Carifta doesn't mean that you don't possess a special talent, because Carifta is among the highest level of competition in the world for junior athletes. You have the Carifta triple jump champion, who went on the very next year, was favorite to win world championships until he got injured. But he won the Division One in NCAA, and among all colleges in the United States. You had Nkumi, who won Carifta and came second in World Juniors, running his personal best, setting a new Jamaica junior record. You have the Clayton sisters, who went to Carifta, and one of them, Tia, set a new world record in the 100 meters. So that is the level that you're competing at Carifta. The Carifta champion in the hurdles was also the world junior champion. So that is the level. So if your athlete from your country made it to the finals and didn't win a medal, it doesn't mean that they don't belong. It just means that they may be developing a little slower, but once they get past this barrier, they can go very, very far. We need to give them the opportunity to get past that barrier so they can be the best that they can be.
Mm-hmm. Well, in addition to that, we also had Keishan Walcott in 2012 winning Carifta in the javelin, and then winning the Olympic gold, in London. So yes, the examples that you have raised, they are well in place, because certainly the Carifta Games is one of the most competitive junior track and field championships in the world. But as you say, we do have this disadvantage, especially from the Eastern Caribbean. Albeit the Jamaicans, they return to Jamaica, and probably the next weekend they were involved in track and field action. Almost every weekend they have the advantage of track and field. They have, speaking to one of the coaches, the athletes now, most of them from the Carifta Games, at least were going to the Penn Relays. And then there's another meet in Baltimore, in Maryland, and there's a meet there, and and somehow we don't have that sort of opportunity. So as you say, creating these sort of opportunities, whether it's an OECS, whether it's, as you say, and I like the idea of an OECS under 23, for example, giving those athletes that opportunity that can prepare for what we call the NACAC under 23, for example. Okay. And you have and I like the idea also of, probably within the Northern Eastern Caribbean, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Kitts, BVI, etc., discussing and talking, because obviously in terms of transportation and thing, it may be easier for you all to move around with ferries and things like that. So in that part of the Caribbean, but certainly there's a need for more discussions, and not just discussions, but more action. It appears, because we talk a lot, but we don't do much, And I want to support, and as some of the commenters are saying, they really like the idea, lovely idea, and I think you are in a very unique position as a coach, an executive member, and also one who has a background in marketing and sales and things like that. So that probably can and sell the idea. Rudian.
Quick thing before we finish up. What is the transition look like for you with the athletes finishing high school? Um, I mean, we know we have a lot of discussion and on what Grenada look like, but what is it like in your in Antigua and Barbuda?
Well, right now it is not where we want it to be, but we're getting to a better place. Um, for example, last year we had 7 scholarship offers. Um, 6 of them were taken up. One should start later this year to make the 7, and we are in discussions with some other schools. Like I say, it has to be the right schools, right? So it's not just every and any school. We're in discussion with other schools. Those who went off last year, we have seen progress. We have seen sign. In fact, one of our young ladies who didn't make it to Carifta because she was injured, she is the national junior college champion for indoor 200 meters. She went to school in January, never run in an indoor on an indoor surface before, and she won the 200 meters in January. She is a special person. In fact, she was third in the Commonwealth Youth Games in Trinidad um, last year. She won the bronze medal in the 100 meters. And she is just getting started because she started training at, I believe, the age of 13, stopped for 2 years, came back at 15, running 26 seconds for 200. And within the year, she ran 23.4 for the 200. So she is a one in a lifetime athlete. But we have a person like her. She's doing pretty well. She is a fierce competitor, and she has set an example. All of these athletes within these islands, once they meet at Carifta or wherever, they become friends. They network. They encourage each other. And once we get information from schools, etc., we try to share it with some of the other islands, like islands within the BVI and the Leeward Islands. So hopefully we find the right schools so that our athletes can transition from high school to a place where they can get regular competition, because we lack that at this point, and help to develop their craft. We in contact with at least there's Spire Academy that we have a good relationship with the coach there, and the coach at Hines Community College. We have a good relationship with him as well. We have good relationship with the coaches at LSU. So, we're trying to build this, and we're trying also to try and get our high schools to participate, not at the same number of high schools, because we don't have that, in games like the pen relays, etc. There is an Antigua and Barbuda Philadelphia Society in Philly, which we have reached out to. My sister is a member of that group. And so we're working with them to try and get some of our high schools into the pen relays for next year and, build on that. So we're not just talking, we're working in the background. There's lots more work to be done. And everybody who thinks likewise, whether you're from Antigua and Barbuda, from one of the other islands, because we're all in this together. The more we can sell our sport, the more we can build our sport, the more our sport will attract sponsors and so on, and it will be, in the best interest of all of us. So we need to work together to continue to do this. And we're willing and ready and able to do this. We are just inviting everybody else to come on board, and let's do it. There's an old African proverb that says, if you want to go quickly, go by yourself. But if you want to go far, go together. We want to go far, so we want to invite everybody to come on so we can go together.
All right. So
Yeah,
talking about
definitely. I really like to hear that.
just talking about inviting others and partnering. There's a question from Roger Duncan, and his question to Ted: how is your association engaging the corporate sector to support your objectives?
In my view, not as much, but I have been given the leeway now, given my background, to go ahead and develop programs to engage corporate Antigua and Barbuda. Let them see how they can benefit from it. Even let the government see how they can benefit from it. For example, athletes are amongst the fittest and most healthy persons in the world. Once they're training and they get the right nutrition, they do rehab, they do pre, etc. So it cuts down on your health care bill. Delinquency, they learn discipline. They're there training hard and going home to get rest. They don't have time to get themselves in mischievous things. So it cuts down on that as well. It saves you money there as well. It builds strong young people with the stick-to-itiveness to come out and be amongst the most productive and best employees that you can find, most productive employees to help build your society. So again, there's a next positive contribution. We need to make government and corporate Antigua understand all of this, well, within all the islands, so that they can buy into what we're doing and invest in these young people.
Just a final thing I want to ask you there as we get ready to wrap up. You touched briefly on it as in regards to the Jamaica. Do you, and personally, as a coach yourself, and you may not be reflecting the views of Antigua and Barbuda Athletics Association, but do you think it's worth the while sending our athletes or junior athletes to Jamaica to school and train?
In some cases, it may be worth it, but in most cases, I don't think so. Because if you continue doing it that way, it means the sport of athletics is not going to be better off for it. Or if it is, it's just going to be marginally slow. So, but if you develop the sport in all the islands by giving the coaches what they need, whether it is coaches' education, the tools that they need, implementing the feeding program, making the adjustments so that coaches can have more contact time with the athletes, etc. I think it served the sport better. It served each country better. It even served Jamaica better because now you have quality competition in abundance. Yes, because you have quality competition now, but it's here, there, it's a one-off. But what will happen if the other islands get their program together? We will have quality competition all around. And if the world thinks that the Caribbean is a region to be reckoned with now, as a result of the exploit of Jamaica and to a lesser extent Trinidad and the Bahamas, they will have a next thing coming because it's going to be coming from the entire region and not just a couple of places within the region. So I prefer that we work together to develop the sport, develop the coaches, give them the tools that they need in the other islands so that we can grow together.
Yes, well said, well said, well said,
Well
Mr.
said.
Daley.
Totally
Yes.
well said. Definitely well said.
And again, I think, well, I don't know, I'm rooting for you, but I so enjoy that conversation, as we say, not so much an interview. We normally have a conversation with Mr. Daley, and based on the questions being asked and the feedback from the folks, I think there's lots of clarity in terms of the message you're coming across with, and to an extent, you're sharing the views, I believe, of not just Antigua and Barbuda, but some of the other smaller islands. But
yeah,
it's how you're dealing with it. It's more like there is a plan. And as Roger is saying, it appears that Antigua and Barbuda, they have a plan. Others may have a plan, but whether or not there's some sort of clarity in how you bring it across and things like that. So I don't know, but I want to wish you all the best. Congratulations once again with the success of Antigua and Barbuda, the Curfew Games. Malik with his gold medal. Certainly, I thought it brought a breath of fresh air, seeing that Antigua in the runnings. Actually, let me get it. Malik Francis, gold in the javelin, 68.84 meters, Carifta record, personal best, national youth record. Well, obviously, if it's a Carifta record, it has to be a national youth record. And ranking among the well, I believe he's ranked number one in the under 18, but probably fifth or so in the under 20s, right?
Yes, that's it.
Yeah. So he's ranked number one among the under 18s because he's a young fellow. But when it comes to the under 20, he's there with the Russians and the Germans, and I think one from Belarus or Bulgaria, I think, or wherever it is. But it shows you that the quality of this young man. And as you said, he won, broke record, everything with an injured arm. Is that so?
Yes, he was complaining for some soreness in his shoulders. After he finished the competition, it got even worse. And so when he came back, he had to go into recovery. He had to go do some rehab. But he's fine. He's getting on there. And I think within the next week or so, he's going to be back in training.
Right. Yeah, really. Good. Simon is saying, greetings, Coach Daley. Simon Ross is from Grenada. And I don't know if probably while you were in Grenada, you met some friends or made some friends, that Simon is saying greetings, Yeah. But on a final note, you enjoyed yourself in Grenada though, right?
Yes, I did. Yes, Grenada was great. It was different from the Bahamas. Every island have their own, unique way of doing things. And yes, thoroughly enjoyed Grenada. The energy in the stands were fantastic, and the competition was great. Again, I did say it in our chat, but again, I want to congratulate the organizers of Carifta 51. Grenada, you did a great job. Looking forward to Trinidad.
All right, and finally, I don't think you had it in mind, but what you thought about the final event, the 4x4? Because I know Antigua and Barbuda was part of that relay, the 4x400 meters relay. What's your personal view on that?
Well, it was a bit unfortunate. There was no solution that was going to be totally satisfying to everybody. But at the end of the day, I think they did the best that could have been done on this, given the circumstances, was to have the three teams that stopped rerun the race. Grenada was at a little disadvantage in that they stopped. You could see them basically stop and then start again. So that would have put them in a position where maybe they could have run a faster time and put themselves in a better position. But I mean, you couldn't do much different than what was done. Like I said, it's unfortunate, but the authorities did the best that they could have done, and we're all in this together. We can't really, beat them over the head for it. So at the end of the day, I think justice was served.
Okay. Well, overall, too, it was nice knowing that you had a very good experience. The athletes enjoyed themselves, everything like that. So, and as you say, looking forward to Trinidad and Tobago come 2025. And good to know also that the planning, because as you said, we're so much at a disadvantage, but I guess learning from past experiences, the planning has begun. And when I saw, that's why I reached out to you, because when I saw this article that, it came days after the Carifta Games, and there were so many things that was already in train. Now you're talking about fundraising activities, athletes getting ready for training, and all these sort of things. I said, in other countries, other islands, I should say, we probably will wait until probably another month or two to start talking about plans for 2025, or we might hear about it later in the year, and things like that. But here is Antigua already looking in terms of even talking about the support group and all these sort of things, because we know that is an integral part of the inspiring and motivating the athletes. It's the parents and friends, and then they want to accompany the kids to the meet, and you giving them an opportunity to, and by starting early. So congratulations once again.
And that's really good. And like I said, I like that plan because one price for all, basically. It covers everything, including meals, right? So, and you even get to sit together. So that's really good. And And that is really what we would like to see moving forward. We see other islands, they come together, they have the entourage with them when they travel, the Bahamas and Jamaica. But definitely good to see other islands starting that as well, and that is such a good plan. And going back to what I said, there is so much happening in the same weekend, in the same place, in the same area, that
Well,
accommodation is going to be
yeah, around the
ridiculous.
same area, both
It's around the same area, yeah.
swimming,
So,
cycling, and track.
yeah, cycling and track and field same weekend.
Mhm.
Accommodation is going to be, really hard, and that if you can put that in place right now, that's really really good. So
Yeah.
definitely
Fine.
congrats on you and your athletes and what you have done for this character games. I like what I hear from you. I like the discipline that you have and what you and your team has for the athletes moving forward. Definitely continue the good work you're doing for track and field and for your region. And looking forward to see you and your team next year in character. And definitely hoping that we can bring you back on later on in the year to get some more information on how things are going. Definitely it's good speaking to you. And a lot of various things. And we talk about a lot of different topics. Definitely, it'll be nice to get your input on it as well. So we're looking forward to having you on again. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. And Mr. Daley, you have the final words now. A wrap.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the fact that some of my colleagues in the other islands are listening in and that they are on the same page that I am on. I look forward to being on your show again because if this can be a vehicle that we can utilize to to bring about the progress that we desire within our region and in the Caribbean in general, not just in track and field, but in other sport, because um, again, the young people is front and center of my thought pattern, and I am hoping, I am hoping that we get the buy-in, not just from governments, but from corporate citizens as well, so that we can showcase the talent that the region possess. Looking forward to being on your program whenever you will have me. Thanks again
Yeah.
for being on the program.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Ted Daley. He's the coach of Antigua and Barbuda and also an executive member of the Antigua and Barbuda Athletic Association. Thank you very much, Mr. Daley.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. So, folks, there you had it from Mr. Daley in Antigua and Barbuda. And in fact, Edwin is saying, Edwin is in New Jersey. Great conversation, Mr. Daley. Best of luck, certainly. Yeah, Rudian, I don't know, but certainly a breath of fresh air. And I
No,
enjoyed,
definitely.
and we
Yeah.
can see that most of the folks enjoyed the conversation. I mean, I'm more. I was so taken aback with the clarity in which he came across because there was
Yeah.
conviction in what he's saying. You know,
No, no,
sometimes
definitely.
you
Yeah.
speak to
Yeah.
people that you wonder whether or not, what they're saying makes sense,
Yeah,
But here
and,
it's
and 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 I like the honesty that coming from it.
yeah,
You didn't
yeah.
bashing the government. You're just saying we are not
No,
there yet.
no.
And
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah.
And that's
Well,
really what I like about him on that. We are not there yet, but we
yeah.
in progress. We'll get there. And if
Yeah.
we start this, they can see and jump on board. And I like that. Yeah,
Well, I think as an administrator as well, he understands the role, right?
yeah,
Because it's not, as you say, is not being critical, but at least recognizing that there may be some shortfalls, right?
yeah.
And understanding that the government has a role to play, corporate has a role to play,
Have a role to
even,
play.
even the public, they have a
Yeah,
role to play,
have a
right?
role to play.
So
Yeah,
you're not really bashing anyone, but you and as Roger said from the start, he came on there. Mr. Daley came on and was able to sell athletics, Antigua Athletics, as a matter of fact.
in
So,
10 minutes.
if was a sponsor looking on, he was able to sell that right away to them because of how he was able to come across and explain everything. What are the plans? Everything within that short space of time.
Sure, the
As a
time.
matter
Yeah,
of fact, we could have ended that discussion after 10,
right
15
there and
minutes.
then. Yeah,
Yeah,
right there and then.
because he
Yeah.
said everything that needed to be said. and that is what we're talking about. It's not any beating around the bush and this sort of thing. I enjoyed it, and certainly if we have the opportunity to invite him again, we will invite him, because I think what he said, and a lot of things he put on the table, suggestions, ideas, I think are things that are worth the while. Okay. And if for some reason, Mr. Daley, I can tell you, do not wait on the others. Your ideas, people may have thought about it before, but as usual, it's big talk, no action. Please go ahead with it. Please forge ahead with it. I would like to see the OECS back in the fore. Back, in the 80s, we had the OECS Track and Field Championships, albeit it used to be hosted in Barbados, because at that time, primarily because Barbados had the track, the stadium, etc., and we didn't have any of these facilities.
These facilities now,
right? It was the Texaco OECS Championships. Texaco was regionally based in Barbados as well, right? So that used to be there. But since then, we have seen all these facilities in the islands and things like that. So there's no reason why we cannot have something like the OECS Track and Field Championships. There was a suggestion that was made regarding the, in fact, that was something we discussed with, two of the prime ministers of recent, regarding and possibly expansion of the Windward Island Secondary School games. Yeah. So you bring in the competition at various stages, because we do have the Windward Island Secondary School games. You don't really need to, reinvigorate anything again. Probably you can just expand it. Either you have a Leeward Island Secondary School games, or you integrate everything to be
one.
OECS Secondary School games. Good afternoon to you, Hazel. She's saying, I'm sorry, late. My daughter just ran her first 200 meters. AAU. Christina, as you know, Christina is our young upcoming Olympian, and we're looking at her. So I'll get I hope my video is waiting for me as usual, Hazel, because Christina wouldn't be too happy if I don't have that sort of information, right? Yes. So she won in 27.8. Okay, first place, 27.8. Thanks very much. Right. Right. Edwin is 27.8. 27.8. I'll probably have her running, sooner. Yeah. It's weather-wise here in North Dakota. By the way, I wasn't able to see the eclipse earlier, because on the day of the eclipse, it was overcast here in North Dakota.
But it's overcast here too. Most people head out to Niagara Falls, like I said. That literally was a state of emergency out there in Niagara Falls for the amount of people that was going in there. It was crazy.
I shouldn't say I didn't see it today. I saw it today, but basically on television.
I see some places have it somewhere in the African part of the world down there, and it was good to see that how it's getting dark and it's getting bright and it's getting dark. And I mean, out here they say around 3 o'clock or so it was dark. I did not see nothing. I was in my house. I was in my bed. I just came from work. I did not even know nothing happening outside. But it was really nice to see it on TV when it get dark out in Niagara Falls, both Canadian and the US side. That was something. It'll be a nice experience to kind of in the middle of the day we get pitch black. It'll be nice to see that or experience it at least. But yeah.
And this week as well, we saw the display of the various kits. I think it was Nike and Puma in particular, right? Even though we saw the Jamaicans, they had
at champs, at champs,
boys and girls champs. But like the rest of the world then came out.
I didn't see the rest of the world. I only saw the Canadian one, the US one. The Canadian one is really nice, I must say.
The Puma had this, including Grenada. There was that one including Grenada. Nike had specifically, they had the USA, and then they had
the Canadian one. Yeah, they had the Canadian one too.
They had some others, like some from Africa and other places and things like that.
I haven't seen none of those yet. Yeah,
of course, I will try to send you some of the videos and
But
of course, there were more social media feedback from the public rather than from the athletes. Yeah. Hey, folks, the athletes that are wearing the kits, if the athletes are comfortable,
I
they
know, eh?
but
Like I
bro,
said, I really wasn't fancy the US one as much. But like I said, the clothes don't make you run fast. But so but the Canadian one, I do really have to say I did like it.
well,
I really did.
as I said
And
before,
that's all I seen. I haven't seen the rest yet. That's all
I
I see. Yeah.
once the athletes are comfortable in that, I have no problem.
Exactly.
I'm
Yeah.
not
But you
worried
know the one, let me tell you this, the one uniform over the years that I've seen that really impressed me is both the Chinese and the Japanese. I do like the uniform over the past years. So I haven't get to see nobody else yet but those two. And then I see the Jamaican one when they came out, and they had it. And though that one was actually really nice. The Jamaican Puma one is really beautiful. So
Yeah.
the athletes don't make you the uniform don't make you run fast. If it does, I guess you gotta find the best uniform to run in, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, folks, from weekend, in earnest, next weekend we get into some of the more elite championships. In fact, we have next Saturday, uh, Gamali Felix actually opening his outdoor season, and he actually will be running against the folks like Michael Norman and others, some of the elite athletes.
elite athletes,
Elite
yeah.
Mongsak relays
Zach
in
Willis, yeah.
California. Yeah. And then we have some of the other athletes who will become, opening their season and opening. And we have some of the college athletes that will be in earnest running in their track and field. In fact, I think it was Melanie Rodney who competed she competed today. And she did a 52.15. Melanie Rodney, a 52.15. Yeah. Melanie Rodney competing, and we haven't heard about Melanie Rodney for quite a while.
For quite some time, yeah. Okay. I know she was injured, right? Wasn't she?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I in
So
fact I was just a while ago I was looking at the video and think she's looking good, and that is one of the things that they were hoping that someone like Melanie can be back on the scene. We have
on the
Jamara
team.
and
Yeah.
probably if we have Melanie, Jamara, and someone else, then the guys were talking about a mixed relay, for example. By the way,
Yeah.
there are grumblings, there are rumors, there are talks, chatter, whatever you call it, that Grenada, hear me out, Grenada may have a 4x1 and 4x4 relay teams rather, 4x1 and 4x4 relay teams at the World Relay Championships in the Bahamas next month. That's just chatter, grumblings, rumors, talks, whatever you want to call it. If that is the case, congratulations. I am happy about that. Why? The idea is to have them at the World Relays with the hope of them going on to the
Qualified.
Olympics.
Yeah.
Now, out of the World Relays, 14 teams, 14 of the 16 teams are coming from the World Relays. 4x1, 4x4, mixed relays, etc. In fact, the bulk of the qualifiers for the relays for the Olympics game will be coming from the World Relays. So it is almost important, crucial that Grenada participate if it wants to, right?
Yeah, because most of the teams they're gonna go against is teams that really qualify.
Well,
Really
yeah,
teams that really have a spot.
yeah.
So it's
And then,
important to run at the world relays, right? Yeah.
and in addition to that, outside of the 4x1, and I had a long discussion yesterday, and we were looking at the pros and cons and all the challenges, etc. The 4x1, the likelihood of you not qualifying, you have a higher chance of you not qualifying because you can be disqualified, lane infringement, batter,
Yeah.
dropping the batter, false start, all of that, right? In a 4x1. Now, in a 4x4, yes, you can have lane infringement. You remember that. It's highly likely that you can have lane infringement, especially when you're anxious and, there's some level of anxiety, etc.
Yeah, definitely.
Something like that. You could have that, right? But We know the 4x1 is a snap race, bam, 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 and things like that. 4x4, you can have some time to catch up,
But
etc.
if we a Grenadier could be represent, that is all that needed to say. Period.
But
That's what we need.
Listen, guys. I can say that Kirani James will be happy, and I say will be happy. I'm not speaking as the agent or coach of Kirani James. I'm speaking based on what Kirani told me. Will be happy to compete in a relay, right?
Yeah.
In fact, it was a conversation with Kirani, myself, and Gamali Felix, and point blank, Kirani says, I have no problem with that. The concern previously was, who are the guys? It's not 4 guys, as you were saying. People believe it's just 4 guys.
You need 6. You need 6.
You need a minimum 6. In the case of Grenada, a minimum of 6 guys. So who were the guys at the time? And, they were brainstorming. They were looking at who are the athletes. You have Gamali, you have Kirani, you have Michael Francois, you have athletes that are coming up. You had even the name of Nazio came up, because Nazio John, remember, Nazio can give you a 45, 46, because he did something like that when he was preparing for his outdoor season last season, okay? And he was thinking, I remember speaking to him, and he said it's something he gave consideration whether he will switch from the sprints to the 400 meters, because he can give you a good split. Then you have Jared Sylvester, who did a 45-6 split about a week or 2 ago. So you have these athletes who are coming up, and look at the Carifta Games. You had young guys giving you a 46, and things. So it appears that might be the thinking of the authorities, the Grenada Athletics Association. My thing is that if that is the case, we need to encourage them, we need to push them. That's the way to go. It's just a matter now of communicating with the guys as early as possible, because the World Relays period is a window. There wouldn't be any international track and field championship happening around that weekend, because it's a window. You call it an international window. Most of the athletes are competing. So even at the college level, the guys will have the opportunity to compete for their nations if they competed, so they will be having. But my thing is that if that is the thinking of the Grenada Athletic Association, our athletes should know about that, and they should start thinking about that. Whether it's a 4x4, 4x1, mixed relays, whatever it is like that. So, because now you have Melanie doing some things. You have Jamara Patterson, who is, around that area there. She's not a 52. She's probably a 54 or whatever it is. And then you have the guys, you probably need about three athletes, 3 female athletes to put you into that. Yeah, you have Philip Marcel, who's also giving you a 20-point. So we have quite a few athletes who can make up a good 4x1 and 4x4 relay teams, But we can only, speculate from here. But if what I'm hearing, rumors, I'm hoping that those rumors can manifest itself into, the truth, and things like that. So, Rudian, all the best for the weekend.
See you again. Yeah, definitely.
Next weekend, once again, when we come back to discuss something again, right?
Definitely. You have a good week out there.
Yeah.
And have a good one. Have a pleasant week. And thank you all for the supporters, for the listeners who's been coming out week after week after week. Thank you for your support. Thank you for coming in and giving your point of view.
You can't go without your boy saying hello to you. He's in Grenada, eh? He's representing a switch code for Grenada, the great Ben Johnson.
He should. Ben Johnson is doing a lot of coaching right now.
Togo always try to throw in the Canadian. It's football.
Ben Johnson, good. You can reach out. I'll talk to Ben when I see him on the track. And I'll ask him. So they're looking for a coach.
Your boy is giving a lot of trouble as usual. All right. So all the best. Thanks very much.
All right. Have a good one.
Yeah.
All right then. Yeah.
Yeah. So, folks, that's all for this week on the Talk Sports program. Looking forward to your company come next week, God's willing, when we have another program. Certainly, I'm enjoying my stay here in North Dakota, in Grand Forks, which is just about an hour from the border with Winnipeg, Canada. Yes, again, Toronto. It's not too close to Toronto, but it's just about an hour. In fact, right, even the hotel has the Canadian flag, so it's almost as if you're in the Canadian border. Thanks very much, folks. Nice having you. Again, if there's any way you can continue supporting our sportsmen and sportswomen, please do continue. I also want to convey, again, I should say, because I did it already, congratulations to not just our Carifta athletes, our Carifta swimmers as well, and also our youth netballers, as they placed second to Barbados in the Caribbean, the Jean Pierre Caribbean Youth Netball Tournament that took place in St. Lucia, a few days ago, right? And also our cricketers, our cricketers in pole position. That's our under 19 cricketers for the Windward Islands tournament. These guys have been playing some very good cricket, and even with a small total, they were able to defend it, 160 something, and will still be able to, bowl out St. Lucia. So, guys, we have a lot to, celebrate and a lot to continue encouraging our young sportsmen and sportswomen. Yes, Toro, come over to the best country in the world, Canada. Yeah, I will. Yeah. We have plans to go over there again. We have been there, but plans to go over there again in Winnipeg in particular. Yes, folks. So, and this coming week, a lot of sporting activities. We have cricket continuing, the West Indies Senior Championships continuing. There's netball, I think, next weekend that might be opening. I'll try to get some more information. The National Netball Tournament, and lots of things happening. Yes, Intercall finish, Carifta finish, but please continue thinking and supporting our young sportsmen and women, not just track and field, whether they're netballers, footballers, cricketers, volleyballers, tennis players, swimmers. Please continue. Even our chess players, yes, chess, the mind game, please continue to support our young sportsmen and women. They are the future. And they continue to bring pride and glory to our nation. Thank you very much, folks. That's all for this weekend. Look forward to you joining me come next Saturday around the same time. That's 2:00 Eastern time, and where we'll have another program. And looking forward to your company. I will let you know who our guests will be during the course of the week. Until then, do have yourself a pleasant weekend.